Was Akuna journey from poverty to hope? Well, let's find out. In a small, dusty village on the outskirts of Nigeria, there lived a young man named Akuna. At 35, he had already seen the rough age of life. His parents had passed when he was still a teenager, leaving him to take care of his younger siblings. Life was hard, but Akuna never lost hope. Despite the poverty, they clung to his family like a shadow. Akuna always believed that there was something more waiting for him. He dreamed of a better life, not just for himself, but for the people he loved. Akuna had always been a hard worker. He tried everything from farming to trading, but it was never enough to change their fate. The money never stretched far enough to put food on the table, much less send his siblings to school or provide them with a decent life. Akuna couldn't bear to watch his younger brother Chike and sister Ada grow up the same way he did. He knew he had to do something drastic, something that would change everything. One night, as he sat alone in the dim light of a kerosene lamp, a thought crossed his mind. Europe, the place everyone talk about, the land of opportunity. If he could somehow get there, maybe, just maybe, he could find work and make the money his family desperately needed. He had heard stories of Africans making the journey through Morocco and then crossing into Europe. Though the stories were often filled with hardships, the idea of a new life was too strong to ignore. I will do whatever it takes. Akuna talked to himself, clenching his fists. I will not let my family live in this poverty forever. Now Akuna journey begins. Let's find out what happened. Akuna didn't waste any time. He sold everything he had, including his beloved goats, some of his family's possessions, just to gather enough money for the journey. He had heard that Morocco was the first step for many, as it was the gateway to Europe. The journey was long and dangerous, but Akuna was determined. He told his siblings goodbye, promising them he will return with enough money to change their life. With little more than the clothes on his back and few coins in his pocket, Akuna set off on his journey. The roads were harsh, the conditions unforgiving, but Akuna's spirit remained unbroken. The closer he got to Morocco, the more challenges he faced. He had no real plan, no contact, just the overwhelming belief that he had to keep moving forward. When Akuna finally reached Morocco, he realized he had no way to cross the sea to Spain. The journey by ship was expensive, and he had no money left. He wandered the streets of Tangier, a city known for its bustling markets and as a crossroad for travelers. He spent days begging for food and asking anyone if they could help him find a way to continue his journey. Yet, his luck seemed to be running out. One evening, while sitting on a bench by the harbor, Akuna met a man named Amy. Amy was middle-aged Moroccan who seemed different from other locals Akuna had encountered. Amy noticed the young man's exhausted appearance and struck up a conversation with him. Akuna explained his situation, his dream of reaching Europe, and his desire to provide a better future for his family. Why do you want to go to Europe? Amy asked, genuinely curious. Akuna, his eyes filled with tears, replied, to escape this life, to bring something back for my family. I cannot bear to watch them suffer any longer. Amy listened carefully and then, after a moment of silence, said, I can see your sincerity. You are not like the others who come here with empty promises. I will help you. With those words, Amy reached into his pocket and handed Akuna a sum of money. It wasn't a lot, but it was enough to help Akuna get on a ship heading to Spain. Akuna was overwhelmed with gratitude. For the first time since his journey began, he felt a spark of hope. Thank you, Akuna said, bowing his head. I will never forget this promise. I will repay you back one day. Amy smiled. Don't worry about repayment. Just make sure you live your life well. That is all the payment I need. Akuna made it to Spain, and though he still didn't have much, he was determined to make the most of his opportunity. Spain was not like the home he had left behind. It was a land full of promise, though it also had its own struggles. He found work as a laborer in construction, doing everything from carrying bricks to working in the field. The pay wasn't much, but it was enough to sustain him. Each day, he worked tirelessly, thinking of his family back home. Years passed. Akuna became accustomed to life in Spain. Though it was never easy, he learned the language and began making connections with people from other parts of Africa and Europe. However, despite the opportunity that the Spain offered, he never stopped thinking about his family back in Nigeria. He heard the news from home, and the story were heartbreaking. His mother and father had died years ago, and his younger brother, Chike, had succumbed to a deadly illness. His sister, Ada, was left alone to take care of their family small house, struggling to survive. Akuna's heart ached as he talked about his lost family. He had made it to Europe, but it felt as though the price of his success had been too high. He had been so focused on making money that he had lost touch with the people who mattered most. After 7 long years in Europe, Akuna had built something. He had saved up a significant amount of money and had even started his own small business. He had finally reached a point where he could return home, not as the poor boy who left, but as a man who could make a real difference. However, returning to Nigeria was not what he had imagined. When Akuna arrived back in his village, he found it empty, desolate, and changed. The house that had once been filled with laughter was now abandoned. He learned from the few remaining villagers that Ada, his sister, had passed away as well, succumbing to the tragic accident just months before his return. Alele. Akuna was devastated. He had missed the chance to say goodbye to the people who had meant everything to him. Yet, in his grief, he realized that his journey was not for nothing. Despite the pain of losing his family, he still had the opportunity to honor their memory by using the money he had earned to uplift the village. He rebuilt the house his family had once lived in, making it a place of comfort for others. He started a small clinic to provide medical care for the people in his village, something that had been sorely lacking. He used his newfound wealth to invest in the education of the village children, ensuring that the next generation would have the opportunity to break free from the cycle of poverty that had once gripped his own family. Akuna's story became an inspiration to many. He was no longer just a boy who had left to chase a dream. He was a man who had overcome unimaginable obstacles to change the fate of an entire community. Though he could never bring back his loved ones, Akuna had fulfilled his promise to them to create a better life, not just for himself, but for everyone who had supported him along the way. As the year went by, Akuna continued to thrive, but he never forgotten the man who had helped him when he was lost in Morocco. Amy, he sent money back to Morocco and even started a charity in Amy's name, helping others who were on a similar journey of hope. Akuna's journey wasn't just about crossing border or earning money. It was about the human spirit capacity to dream, to hope, and to build something out of nothing. Though his story was one of hardship, it was also one of triumph, resilience, and the undying love for his family. His village, once a place of despair, had transformed into a beacon of hope for others. And in the heart of those who heard Akunna's story, there lived a simple truth that no matter how far you go or how difficult the journey, it is the love for others and the desire to make difference that truly makes man rich. The story of Akuna.